friends, it's Miss Drywa. How are you? Are you ready to learn about our final planet? Our last but certainly not least planet. We're going to learn about it today, and then we have officially learned about all 8 planets in our solar system, plus the sun, plus the asteroids and the comets. Look at us. We are superstars. So, let's get started. We are going to talk about our final planet today. You might know what it is. We'll do some facts about it, just like we've been doing. Look at a picture of it. You'll fill in some facts on your sheet. And then we will be done with our 8 planets, right? And then next week, we'll talk a little bit more about dwarf planets and our moon, which is pretty cool. And then guess what? It will be our last week of summer school, and we will be all finished with our solar system. Awesome. All right, friends, so let's get started. All right, so we have our little acronym here. That just means that's our saying to help us remember the order of the planets from the sun. So my very excited mother just served us nachos. So the M is for Mercury, the V is for Venus, the E is for Earth, the second M is for Mars, the J is for Jupiter, the S is for Saturn, the U is for Uranus, which we talked about yesterday, and then finally N is for Neptune, our final planet in our solar system, right? So let's take a look. We have right here order from the sun, just like we said it. My very excited mother just served us nachos, right? It's the order from the sun, and we are all the way over here, Neptune, which is very, very, very far from the sun. It's 4.498 billion kilometers. It's very far, friends. It's the furthest from the sun. We thought that Mercury was very far from the sun when we learned about Mercury, but now we are all the way back here with Neptune. All right, the last planet. And this is what Neptune looks like. Kind of looks similar to Uranus, right? Now, remember we talked about how when the planets are further away, they tend to be cold. So if Uranus was very cold because it was very far away, you can only imagine how cold Neptune really is, because it's even further away, right? So let's learn a little bit more about Neptune. Neptune is the 8th planet from the sun, right? Number 8. The last one. It is the smallest of the gas giants in our solar system. So, it's not saying that it's the smallest planet in our solar system, friends. It's really saying that it is a gas giant, just like Jupiter, just like Saturn, just like Uranus. However, it is the smallest out of those 4 planets. So, out of all the gas planets, Neptune is the smallest one. Neptune is a very windy planet and has a great storm similar to Jupiter's. Wow, well, let's take a look. So, wrong planet, sorry friends. If you look here, I can kind of see like clouds, right? Where we didn't say anything about Uranus being very windy, and I don't really see any clouds or any wind or anything like that. But if you look at Neptune, you can kind of see the clouds, similar that we saw when we were looking at Jupiter. Let me see if I can find. So remember Jupiter, right? This was a storm here, and we said there's tons of storms all over, and that might be why it's got all these white spots and dots and everything. Well, kind of like Neptune, friends. Maybe, these are like the storms. Pretty interesting. It also has rings like Saturn's rings. So again, when we talked about Uranus yesterday, or the day before, we said that Uranus had rings. They're very small, and we couldn't really see them. Same thing with Neptune. You can see Saturn's rings with no problems, right? I see the rings, you see the rings. Everyone knows Saturn has rings. That's what Saturn's known for. However, Uranus and Neptune also have rings, but you can't really see them. But they're there, right? Neptune has 14 moons, but they may be more. So now, wait a minute. We talked about yesterday how Uranus had 27 moons, right? 27 moons. Neptune now has 14. That's still a lot. It might not be as many as Uranus. It might not be as many as Saturn or Jupiter. But they definitely have a lot, friends. Right? Tons of moons. So, and they even saying that there may be more. The reason they don't really know is because it's hard for scientists to learn about Neptune because it is so far away. Let's look at our map again. We are here, right? We're on Earth, and this is where our scientists are, studying our other planets. It's easy for them to kind of see Venus and Mercury and Mars and maybe even Jupiter because they're relatively close to Earth. But to learn about Uranus and Neptune, they're very, very far away. And it's very hard for scientists to learn about these planets because of their distance. And that just means how far they are from us. That's really it. Scientists, so they know a lot of information, they know some, but they don't know all the information because it's so far for them to learn. And it's hard. So, they know they can see at least 14 moons. However, there may be more. It's hard for them to tell because of how far it is. Okay, so let's see though, because we've been talking about how long it takes for them to orbit the sun, right? And Mercury takes 88 days to orbit the sun. We learned that Venus takes 225 days to orbit the sun. Earth takes 365 days. That's a year for us. Mars takes 687 days. Jupiter takes about 12 years, I remember when we learned about Jupiter, I was so shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, 12 years? That's so long. Then we learned about Saturn, and it got even longer, 29 years. Then yesterday we learned about Uranus, and it was 84 years to orbit the sun. Today we're learning Neptune, and it takes about 165 years to orbit the sun. Friends, we don't even typically live to 165. So it takes Neptune longer to orbit the sun than it does for the average person to live on Earth. That is insane, friends. It's crazy. And remember, to orbit the sun just means to go around the sun, right? So it takes Neptune 165 years to orbit the sun. That is a very, very, very long time. Super long, friends. Again, because it's much further from the sun. The distance from the sun also adds to it, right? So we have learned lots of facts. Remember, this is Neptune. Kind of looks like Uranus, but you can see some white, maybe storms on it, right? Remember, this is taken with a telescope, right? That may have a super fancy, expensive telescope as a camera on. Scientists have all the technology and the equipment they need. And again, they can't learn everything about Neptune because of how far it is away from Earth. It's very far. All right, because it's the furthest planet from the sun. It's very far, friends. All right, so we have learned a lot of facts about Neptune today, right? We know it has at least 14 moons, maybe more. We know that it is the smallest gas giant, right? So we know it's a gas giant just like our other planets. But compared to those other gas planets, Neptune is the smallest, right? We know that it has rings like Saturn, but they're not as big and it's hard to see them. We also learned that Neptune has storms on it, right? And a similar storm to the 300-year storm on Jupiter. We don't know how long it's been there, but we do know there is a storm there. And we know it's the 8th and final planet from the sun. So we've learned a lot of interesting facts, friends, about Neptune today. You're going to go in and fill in your concept map of all your facts and organize yourself. We aren't going to do a comparison this week just because we had field day yesterday. But that's okay because we've been comparing in this video, yesterday's video, every video we keep comparing all of our planets, and it's pretty interesting. All right, friends? So have an amazing day. Great job. Until next time.